Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I hope you're all well who's listening. My name's Stephen, the host of the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by two show regulars, Anthony and Francis. How are you?
As well as can be expected, mate. Always good to be back on. This will be good therapy, I think, after yesterday's disappointment.
Fair, I don't know about that. More like a ranting stage, but what about yourself, Francis? How are you?
I'm needing this because the house has been a wee bit frosty the last 24 hours. As you know, my partner is a Rangers fan, so it's not been a fun household for myself.
well, look, just putting this out there to people who are listening, this goes out on a Tuesday, but we record this on Monday, so it's the day after the loss in the Glasgow Derby game. Celtic lost 1-0 from a Hollander header, another set piece goal that kind of killed us off. But that's the seventh Derby game in a row, Francis, where Celtic have failed to win. 2 wins in 4 league games. I think we're sitting 5th or 6th with 6 points. And I kind of had another one of my rages yesterday in the group chat, and I was fuming. You know what I mean? Because obviously the optimistic person in myself can see where the whole Postecoglou thing's going. You can see the football he wants to play. But in the majority of the bigger games this season, Celtic have kind of failed to deliver. And yesterday, Francis was another one of them games. And obviously, the biggest chances was the likes of Edouard, Kyogo towards the end. I mean, Edouard's one that's guilt edge for me. He should be finishing that. I don't know how he managed to backheel it. And as I said there, the set piece again kind of just killed us off. It's been our Achilles heel for years now, even going as far back as when Rodgers first came in, even probably further back. We haven't really had a defender who can just stand up and be counted in terms of heading the ball away. But I'll come to yourself, Francis, first in terms of an overview of the game, how you're feeling now, obviously before we dip into player performances and stuff. So how did it go for yourself?
I mean, well, not great considering the results, Stephen, but I think, like we kind of briefly spoke on before we came on here, is the first Old Firm game last season, like Anthony said, it was 9 games into the campaign, so you're almost around the fixtures in. And we never actually laid a glove on them, and that was at Parkhead. Whereas yesterday, it's just at the start of the season, we did put in a better performance, so you can see going forward that I'm more optimistic going forward than what I was after the first Derby game last season, where I just felt you kind of had a feeling that kind of game was going to happen, that we weren't going to turn up. But I was disappointed in the sort of team's performance, whether that was a tactical thing with the coaching. I don't feel we pressed enough or high enough. We didn't seem to pass it as quick and kind of gamble. But guys like we never got it wide enough. I think Kyogo was showing up a wee bit out where it showed how much we lost from him playing out there and not having an actual wide man. Because I think Balogun, by all accounts, had an absolute free hit yesterday. Just nobody really tested him. There was a couple of times Kyogo in the first half got at him, but apart from that, I don't remember him really being under, like, just constantly running at me. It just seemed to get a comfy afternoon for me. So it was just one again. Like, I feel we dominated possession in the first half without really, apart from Edouard's chance, really creating it. I know you've said it. He should score it. I just feel he's just been really unlucky. He has missed it. I think if roles are reversed, Kyogo, who's high in confidence, sticks it away. I just think Edouard's maybe, we know he's want away. I don't believe he's not. I believe he's still trying. We just know he wants away, and I don't think he's in full flow. He's like got great confidence in now. So I think that's all that I can put that miss down to. It was just a guy low in confidence and who really is. His head's probably elsewhere. So yeah, I think if he's the one crossing it in, Kyogo is probably sticking it away. But we never got going in the second half. Rangers, by all accounts, started great, and they were passing it a lot better, and they seemed a lot more energetic on the ball and stuff without actually creating any great clear-cut chances. Like, I don't remember Joe Hart actually making a desperate save or any last-ditch tackles as such. But then obviously just concede from a corner. It was a good cross and a good header. I don't think there was much we could do. Maybe if you're going man for man, but the fashionable thing is sort of a half man for man and half zonal. And just when you're giving folk zonal, it gives you that chance for the attacking player to get a leap on you. But it was just just a good goal from a Rangers point of view. But then obviously we changed the system straight after that, so you've kind of got to credit the manager for that. he didn't hang about another 5 minutes to give the players a chance. He went straight away and put Kyogo through the middle, and he nearly scored. But the keeper reads the situation well and gets out there well, and then the game just sort of Rangers again just seemed to be on top again without creating much. I think they sort of said to us, "Come on, have a go," and we never really done that until maybe the 80th minute or something, where we actually started pressing high, started passing. Then we obviously got the 2 chances from Kyogo, where he's probably made the wrong choice on both occasions, but with I will defend him on the first one. I want my striker. I have no issue with my striker hitting the first one. And 9 times out of 10, when the keeper makes that save, it probably breaks to like where Ryan Christie's standing. It doesn't go straight out in the middle of the goal where there's no attackers. And then I don't know if Christie's reaction is then been a factor in Kyogo's second one, where he's cut it back or tried to play the square ball when he should shoot there. But yeah, it was obviously not a great result, Stephen, going into the international break, because now after these games, when you tend to lose them, you just want another game of football to try and right the wrong, I feel like, and get back into winning ways. So, like the manager said, we'll just need to deal with the international break, then get a run of games and a run of wins in the league and try and build a bit of momentum. But he'll obviously have a couple of weeks to sort of deal with some of the players that won't be in international duty. So it'll be a chance to sort of coach some of them and get them working. But yeah, I'm slightly more optimistic, but obviously it wasn't a great performance considering some of the games we've seen this season.
I think that's a great point. And see, Christie, for me, he has a cheek to throw up his arms, because if he's in that position, he's shooting too. But
yeah,
obviously you can see where he's coming from. But that reaction was mad, and I think you're right in terms of the whole thing and Kyogo's mindset for that second opportunity. He was thinking about cutting it back instead of shooting, and that probably did affect him in terms of that. But coming to yourself, Anthony, in terms of the goal, we can see that obviously, as I said, we're going to touch upon the lineups. I will when we go further into the podcast. But you look at the Celtic coaching staff at the minute, and you've got 2 centre backs on there, John Kennedy and Steve McManus, and as Francis rightly pointed out, this zonal marking half and half, where you have like 4 guys on the edge of the 6-yard line, and you have your roamers picking up players and stuff. But Francis is right. Big players like Hollander and Goldson, if they get the run on you and you're at a standing start, you're going to be caught out, and that's basically how we conceded the goal. Obviously, Starfelt got caught onto the ball as well. I think Wells did. They got pulled towards the front post area. But do you think that's a concern that this still hasn't been addressed in terms of defending set pieces?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Stephen. I think we did defend better for large parts of the game yesterday. I mean, we had a lot of set pieces to defend, and on the whole, I actually felt all 4 defenders did play very well yesterday. But like you say, it's so frustrating losing another. I mean, we lost 1-0 at Ibrox just around the festive period last year. With a similar type of performance, we matched them toe for toe, and a set piece was, like the term you used was perfect there, the Achilles heel again. It's something we really need to iron out, because these games can all come down to such a small thing, just a sort of basic defence of the ball. Having said that, I do think we have to give credit to both Barisic and Talander. I mean, it's a tremendous ball into the box. It really is. It's going so fast and it's so accurate that the goalkeeper can't really come for it. The defender, like you say, he's already under by that point. At first, I thought it was poor defending for Starfelt. Then I realised Starfelt wasn't actually defending Hillander. It wasn't his man. But he does obviously get caught underneath it, and it's just one of the. Sometimes you do have to say, even if you do all the basics right, you can still concede. So yeah, it's frustrating losing another derby, especially in the manner that we did, because unlike some of the matches last season, I felt maybe it's right to feel it or wrong to feel it. Only time will tell. But I do feel a sort of sense of calmness after it. I didn't have that same. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still self-isolating, so I've been sort of sheltered through all the bragging and the slagging and whatnot, if all the banter that you normally have to put up with in the pub immediately after a derby defeat. But I didn't sense that same sort of sense of dejection amongst our side that we've seen far too much of, sadly, last season. And by the same token, I've not really seen an over sort of indulgence of the bragging rights from Rangers fans either. I think most of the sort of, more educated elements of both sets of supporters realised that yesterday, no matter what, if it'd been win, lose or draw, either way, it wasn't really deciding anything. I think what we've seen was two pretty even teams, and a match that was separated by a fantastic set piece. So maybe that's where I'm getting my calmness from. I did feel that we, as Francis says, if Edward takes that chance, I mean, you cannot get more of an opportunity at the home of your biggest rivals than 6 yards out against the rookie goalkeeper and misjudge it. You just can't do that. And as Ange Postecoglou says, you don't take your chances, there is a good chance you're going to get punished, which we were. So, as I say, of course, it's bitterly disappointing to lose to Rangers at any tournament or at any time. You're pig sick for a good few hours, and you get it really ruins your weekend, to be honest. But
yeah,
when the dust settles, I do think there's a long way to go in this season. And as Francis says, once the international break's over with, we can start building a bit of run of form again. We'll have some new signings in, and we move on.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with what you're saying, but I want to come back at you, Anthony, and I'll come back to yourself, Francis, for the same point, just to get different points of view. I seen on Twitter today, I think it was the Everything Celtic page, put up that Celtic haven't won an away game in the SPFL since Valentine's Day, which is quite a daunting stat when you actually think about it in terms of our away form, Anthony. And we look, obviously, it started this season. We've lost at Tynecastle and at our rivals at Ibrox in terms of Rangers. Is it a bit of concern that this could be a mindset going forward? Obviously, we're joking with jest with Rangers fans saying they can't cope with the crowds and stuff, and last season was a godsend for them because there was no crowds in. But all joking aside here, it is a bit of a bad stat when you look into that we haven't won an away from home game in terms of SPL domestic, the league, from Valentine's Day, isn't it?
Do you want me to go first there, Stephen, or was that for Francis? Yeah, okay. You're absolutely spot on. It's a pretty frightening stat to look at. Although, of course, I don't think we can. Obviously, Ange is not to. He can't be blamed for any of the results from the winter through to springtime from last season. Again, as well, like you saying, we've played 4 this season, and we've lost 2 and we've won 2, and it's 50-50 either way, whether it be at Celtic Park or away from home. I would say, though, that I would probably say, perhaps along with Pittodrie, we've been away now to 2 of the 3 sort of most traditionally difficult venues to go to. And again, I just think, possibly similar to Midtjylland, the Hearts game just came a little bit too quickly for us. I mean, don't get me wrong, if this run was to continue after the international break, then it would be a real cause for concern. But at the moment, I'm still just putting it down to Hearts game was the opening game of the season when, I don't have the teams in front of me, but, it was a pretty different looking Celtic side, and we had a goalkeeper who, in between the sticks, who was unreliable. And yesterday was just more a case of we lost the derby away from home to a set play. So yeah, I'm not panicking too much on that front just now, but if you were to come to me with that question, if that record's still standing in October, then you might get a bit of a different answer.
What about yourself, Francis, in terms of, obviously, Anthony's right when he says that Postecoglou can't be blamed for obviously the results last season, but dripping into this season, we've lost the first 2 away games, Hearts and Rangers, and you can't. We've seen it away from home in Europe. Sometimes the players fall into this mindset. It doesn't matter if it's a new crop of players and the old spine of the team, that kind of thing. Is it a concern for yourself that maybe, I don't know, away from home we're just not quite clicking yet? But it's been evident that's been the case.
I'm much like Anthony, where I'm not overly concerned now, but like Anthony, maybe in a couple of months' time it might be a different answer, like if it keeps on going. But I'm guessing, obviously, with you springing this on us yesterday, I guess this record is just domestically it's talking of then.
Yeah, domestically, the SPL.
Yeah, but I mean, we obviously had it's a wee bit it's an easy one to say because it makes it seem longer in the sense because we've obviously had a big chunk of that was John Kennedy who struggled to even win a game, never mind a game away from home and struggled to win a game. So that you've got to factor into. You've got to factor into 2 months the calendar year we never actually played football because the season was finished. So there's 2 months you can kind of take off that and say, well, it's not as long as it seems, but yeah, it doesn't make for good reading, but there is a lot of things you can pluck out wee random sort of facts from time to time and stuff that make a situation look worse than it actually is. So that for now, I think I'm just going to try and be a wee bit positive on it and just say it's almost like a false, like a wee myth type of stat because
it can't be a myth if it's true.
It's true, but it's like a myth saying Robbie McCrory was a rookie keeper at 23-year-old with 100 odd games. So that's so it's one of the it's I don't know the right word, but it's a silly stat in the sense that you're missing 2 months of a calendar. You weren't actually playing football and stuff, and how many away games actually is it? Because it could only be about 5 away games, which still isn't a great stat. But
I mean, it's a bit of a dodgy territory if we're accepting that kind of thing. That's what I mean.
I'm not accepting it. It's just without knowing sort of how many games it was, who the games are against, and stuff. It's hard to really get concerned.
Going by last season, we were shite. It doesn't matter who it was
against. But then you can't put that on the current team.
No, but I'm saying because it's dripped into this season.
Yeah,
we've been away from home twice. That's where I'm coming on.
But like as I said, we've been away from home to Hearts. Who I know they just came up, but Hearts is predominantly never an easy ground to go to. And then Ibrox, it's Rangers by all accounts were steamrolled the league last season, so it's one of them. You're playing against two decent teams, I feel like.
I know, and I know what you guys are saying, but I mean, I just find it hard to make all these kind of excuses and say this is why this isn't happening.
It's good. It's try to sort of make sense of it. I feel like just give reasoning behind it.
Yeah, 100%. But as I'm saying, like I can see where you're coming from, but again, every team has rebuilt this summer. I know, obviously, Hearts have come up. We should be going there and winning. I don't care. I don't care whatever time of the season that comes out. Celtic should have enough to beat Hearts of Tynecastle, newly promoted team. And maybe as always, Derby games are 50-50 and kind of form goes out the window. And it brings me on to the next point in terms of the lineups. And we've seen the Celtic one come in. I'll come to yourself, Anthony, first for this. Juranovic come in at left back, and I thought he actually did well. Ralston was playing, Welch, Starfelt, McGregor, Turnbull, Christie, Kyogo on the left, Edward, and Adaba. At first look, when you've seen that coming through the Twitter feeds or Instagram, whatever you've seen it on, how were you feeling when you've seen that lineup?
I'll be honest, I thought it was a gamble that did pay off, to be fair, it's always a gamble throwing a defender in for his first game in a derby. But I have to say, I thought Juranovic, especially when he was not in his natural position, I thought he had a brilliant game. I thought he looks a real class act. But also credit to Tony Ralston as well. I thought he had an excellent game as well, and he wasn't sort of phased by the fact that his, potential sort of, what's the term I'm looking for, his replacement or upgrade, we have purchased him as a right back. He didn't seem phased by it either. I thought Ralston had a very good game as well. I'll be honest, with the injury to Taylor and the fact that James Forrest wasn't fit even for the matchday squad, I was expecting, it was the team I was expecting, to be honest, Stephen. I did think, but just the fact that we didn't have a natural left-sided play, there's an argument that you could put Christie in there, and obviously he did move him out there latterly in the game, but I don't think it was. There's a lot of talk online about it was a game for Rogic to start. I'm not so sure, because I think it was, especially with it being at Ibrox, Rangers were always going to come out the traps very quickly, and we've seen what happened on Thursday night with Alkmaar. Those games when the opposition is coming at you 100 miles an hour, it can be very quick. Very quickly, a game can start to bypass Tom Rogic. So I can understand why he started on the bench, but because of the injuries to Taylor and Forrest on opposite ends of the pitch, his options were therefore limited. So you can understand, as much as disappointing as it was, like most people, I wanted to see Kyogo start through the middle because I feel that that's where he's at his most dangerous. However, I can understand why, looking at, and I actually think Ange Postecoglou pretty much said as much in the post-match interview, that his decisions were his lineup. If he had a full strength available, that wouldn't have been what he went with. But I felt, for all the personnel decisions he's got to make and the tactical decisions he's got to make, you cannot account for your £9 million striker miss-hitting a ball for 6 yards out. And, if Edwards scores that and we go 1-0 up, we take control of the game, we can move the tactics about in the second half. And if Kyogo takes that second goal, then all we're talking about is how the tactics were right. So as much as I would have had Kyogo through the front, and I think the manager would have as well, I can understand that, given and even accounting for the fact that James McCarthy was injured as well and wasn't fit, it takes that kind of sting and battling out the middle of the park as well. So I can understand why he put Ryan Christie in there as a more senior player, and who is probably more able than Tom Rogic to last the 90 minutes. I felt, if anything, potentially the changes could have been made 10 minutes earlier, because it became very obvious quite quickly at the start of the second half that Rangers were moving up a gear, and we were it was similar to Thursday night, we were struggling to get out our own sort of 18-yard line for a while, and it became clear that Edward was not going to offer us anything better in the second half. So perhaps the changes that were eventually made and that made us look more effective could have been done sort of 10 minutes earlier. But I do think, just given the circumstances of the personnel available, I can understand why he went with the formation that he did, and the positions as well.
I have to say, when I seen the lineup, Anthony, the first thing that struck me was the lack of depth on the bench, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think you're right when you say the lack of options that Postecoglou had, especially for the left-hand side, was quite stark, to be honest. There was no direct replacement for Forrest, and even at that, he plays in the right wing. And obviously, if rumours are led to believe, we're signing that guy, as Felipe Jota from Benfica on loan.
Yeah, I think so.
He plays left wing. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully that's that position sorted for a while. But my overall view of it, I'm much agreeing with yourself. I want that Kyogo for the middle. I would have stuck Christie on the left. I would have dropped Rogic and played Sorrow in the hole, and McGregor and Turnbull just in front. Mm-hmm. Just because, obviously, as you said, you're with McCarthy not there, you're losing that bit of, if he plays, you're getting that bit of protection. I think Sorrow can still offer you that. Obviously, he's a bit rash in the tackle. And we can all look back in hindsight, Anthony, as you rightly said, and we can say these tactics would work in this, but it's just opinions at the end of the day. I think when you play Kyogo out in the left, Francis, you said at the start of the show, you just lose him. You lose him, and obviously before we go into any player performances and stuff, and there was some good, but more bad, to be honest. But as Anthony said about the lineup, how did you feel about it when you seen it?
Well, I was much like it was a bench that concerned me more, because I think after Thursday, I think most would have predicted that team, like Rogic dropping out and Christie maybe going in the middle. I had absolutely zero issue with the starting lineup. I would have maybe, I said at the start of the game I would have played Montgomery before Juranovic, but then it was more just because the guy was going to be getting played out of position in his first derby game, his debut and everything. So I was wanting a more natural left-footed player out there, and a guy that's like, I felt it was almost a throwback to last season with square pegs and round holes, but by all accounts, Juranovic had a really good game. It wasn't probably as good going forward as he would like to be, and what he probably will be when he gets a chance on the right-hand side, but I can't say a bad thing about the guy. I thought it was a good enough debut for him. But yeah, I had absolutely no issue with the team, and like you say, the benefit of hindsight, I would have liked Kyogo through the middle, but then, like Anthony touched on, if Edwards scores his chance and Kyogo sticks away a chance, the tactics look brilliant. But big moments in games can make tactics and team selection look bad or make it seem like it. So I think Postecoglou's problem was it wasn't necessarily starting 11. I think big moments in a game makes folks start questioning the team selection. Then I do agree with Anthony that it probably delayed or got waited too long for the substitutions, because we could see that we needed Kyle go through the middle, something just to give them something else to think about, because Edward, by all accounts, wasn't really holding the ball and wasn't doing enough running, wasn't occupying the centre halves enough. We needed somebody to do that, and Kyle could have done that. I mean, if he wasn't really wanting to use a sort of a sub, he could have maybe tried Edward, that just swapped they two about, just to go give it 5-10 minutes, see if that will maybe work. We could add someone different through the middle, but the same personnel's out of the team. So, I was happy enough with the team, Stephen, considering our options we had and after Thursday night. But I just think big moments in the game have made folk like ourselves question the tactics and question the team selection.
I think it's a great shout when you say swap Edward and Kyogo, him go out left and Kyogo for the middle, because one of Edward's best goals for us was at Ibrox, and he cut in from the left and he curled it around the keeper when the one when we were down to 10 men. Won that game.
The
at the time, and he's played there for France on the raised levels as well. So I'm pretty sure he could do it, Chef. Maybe Postecoglou was thinking in terms of tracking back. Obviously, Kyogo probably gives you more in that department.
Oh no,
but we'll look at some player performances, and as Anthony touched upon, the back four played really well. To be fair, obviously the set piece killed us. They killed the game. Obviously, they won it from a set piece. But I want to start with Carl Starfelt, and I've been kind of critical of him, especially the last podcast. But the game there, the Glasgow Derby game on Sunday, for me, Anthony, I thought he played well, and the reason why I did think he played well is because Celtic, for large parts of the game, especially in the second half, were under the cosh, and that seemed to suit him. Defending his box, defending his area, putting tackles in, putting his body on the line. And that's where I think he thrives off. Whereas if you give him the ball for 5 minutes, it's a headless chicken. You don't know where it's going to end up. But obviously, we'll touch on your Ranovic later on. But what did you think about Carl Starfelt?
Yeah, pretty much just like yourself, Stephen. Sorry, excuse me. I do agree. I thought he had a good game. Obviously, we can all see that he's had a bit of a difficult start, so to speak. But I feel that he's grown into the match. I felt he more than put up with the sort of nullified the threat of the sort of Rangers attacking. I don't think Kent really did much in the game at all, to be honest. Morelos had the sort of good chance very early on in the game, and it was just sort of dipped over the bar. But apart from that, I don't really recall them cutting us open too often at all. And I think Starfelt had a big part to play in that. Definitely his best performance in a Celtic jersey. Like I said, when I first seen the goal, I did sort of let out a sigh. I thought, oh God, he's been really done there. But it's not until you actually watch the replays a few times you see that Starfelt isn't actually meant to be marking Hollander at all. I think it's I'm just trying to remember. I think it was Goldson that he was sort of meant to be marked up, but it's just obviously Hollander's got in on top of him, and it's very hard if a player's coming from a running position to latch onto the ball. If you're already static, it's hard to get up, and he did his best, but by that point the damage had already been done. But no, I felt definitely the back four. There was, again, maybe that's not just Starfelt, maybe all of them. There was a little bit too much of the short passes that were inviting the Rangers players to press high, which we nearly got caught with once or twice. But overall, I don't feel that anyone at the back, particularly Starfelt, had a bad game at all. I felt they all did their jobs admirably.
I think what's evident, Francis, is about Starfelt is, as Anthony said there, he snuffs out them opportunities, and relatively him and Wells kept Morelos, Kent quiet. I know Kent hit the post in the first half, wasn't it? But apart from that, there wasn't really much in terms of shots on target for both sides. I think Celtic had 4 and they had 4, so it was pretty even in that department. But in terms of Starfelt, I mean, I lambasted him the last podcast and basically said he was terrible. But that was only me coming from in terms of what this game Postecoglou's trying to play in terms of passing out from the back. And as Anthony rightly said, we tried it again and it got us in trouble a few times against Rangers, like it did against Alkmaar. But give him credit where it's due. He does defend that box well, doesn't he?
I know, 100% agree with that. And I think I've actually said that on previous podcast. I think as a defender, he's pretty good at it. He's actually a pretty decent defender. It's when you give him that time on the ball, like you say, everything seems too eager. It's like a hot potato. Really, he's desperate to get rid of it. And he seems to absolutely rattle passes into folk, like 5-10 yard passes, absolutely rattling them. And everything just looks uncomfortable when he's got time on the ball. And to be fair, when he's not got the time, when he's having to do that instinctive thing, it sometimes doesn't look the best, but it does a job generally. But I think he's still got a wee bit to go, I think, to convince me, because I felt it gives away silly fouls sometimes. And I don't really think it's eagerness. He's trying to win the ball. It just seems to be pure judgment. He's always trying to get in front of the boy, when sometimes you've just got to stand off and stand your ground. But no, I can't really pick out moments where I thought, like in previous games, he's obviously caused big moments. He's maybe caused a goal or really glaring errors. But on Sunday, no, I don't think he had any real ones that are sticking out to me that I sort of had my head in my hands, and that was silly fouls he was getting away from time to time, but nothing where I had to hold my breath, if you like. But so hopefully he can take a bit of confidence for that performance going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he has a lot to do to convince a lot of Celtic fans. That includes myself. But I just wanted to give him a wee bit of credit, because he did play well, and you have to obviously call him out when he plays well, call him out when he plays bad. So I mean, keep it equal and stuff. But there's another player I want to touch upon. We did speak about it briefly. Anthony was Juranovic. He came in at left back, and to be honest, when I seen that, was a bit like, woof, what's going on here? But he did play well, but obviously when he got up to that final third, he was always cutting back on his right hand side, and he was getting snuffed out the majority of times. But defensively, he didn't really get beat. He made some smart passes infield, the likes of McGregor and things. But for me anyway, he looks like he's going to be a fantastic player in terms of what we've seen and what he could potentially do in the right back area.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought he was cool as a cucumber yesterday, considering the sort of atmosphere he was sort of being sort of baptised in, so to speak.
No many folk get baptised there, Anthony.
Yeah, I thought of all the terms to use, of all the terms, but having it's said now. John might edit it out. I'm only kidding. But no, yeah, it was as good a performance at the back as I've seen in a long time, coming into one of these big derby matches. I didn't think he really put a foot wrong at the back. Stephen, I thought he was cool as a cucumber. There was a few points in the game, especially first half, when the Rangers player would be right on him and it'd be a sort of sticky spot. Kept calm, low pass to either Christie or sometimes further up to Kyogo, and you just thought, God, this time last year that would have been complete panic stations. Like you say, going forward, it was a little bit frustrating, because you can tell he is very, very right-footed, and it was hard for him to sort of make any impact going forward. But certainly defensively, I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and I would have no qualms about putting him in at left back in other matches as well. And I think, was it 2.5 million we've paid for him?
Yeah.
That looks like a seriously good bit of business.
2.5 million, a 5-year deal, which is fantastic. 26 years old as well. What about yourself, Francis? Did he impress you?
I'm really, really impressed. I'm got to get total carried away and think we've got an absolute superstar. I think I was so impressed with the guy at left back, considering it wasn't his favourite position. He has played there a lot, to be fair, in the past, but yeah, I was super impressed with the guy. He was just, like Anthony said, so calm on the ball. And that can obviously can go through the team and going forward and stuff. If your defenders are calm in sticky situations, it calms everybody else down. They don't need to. They can maybe take up a certain area. They don't need to make everything necessarily easy for them. They can maybe make a nice a sort of a harder angle, if you like, for the pass, knowing they'll probably make it. I think there was actually one time in the second half where it was a sort of a clearance, I think, from Stephen Wilkes. It was kind of just looked up into the air, and he was about 4 yards away under a bit of pressure, and he pulled it down like Berbatov and just turned and was away. And it was just everything. The only thing I can really say bad about him was going forward, but you can't be too critical there, because like Anthony was saying, when he got forward, he wasn't keen on hitting it with his left foot, so he was always having to cut back, so he wasn't really getting the cross in as early as he probably liked, and which helped the team. But yeah, I think he can be happy with his performance on an individual level, really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now we've talked about the good, we have to talk about the bad and the ugly. I mean, it's part and parcel of it. And for the second game in a row, in my opinion, the midfield posted missing. Abada posted missing. He was non-existent. Obviously, I mean, he's 19 years old. He's going to be inconsistent, and you can't really put too much pressure on the fella. But for me, I think he touched the ball a few times, and most of the time it got took off him. Kyogo, as Anthony said at the start, Francis Balogun had him in his back pocket. And being brutally honest about it, it's because he's getting played out of position, and he shouldn't have been. Edouard, apart from the chance, he didn't do nothing for me. But I come to yourself, Francis, first. One of the worst performers on the pitch for me, after all he's been great, he's been fantastic the last couple of weeks, was David Turnbull. I just thought, in my opinion, he didn't take the ball in pressure situations. He wasn't being his usual self. He was hiding for me. He wasn't taking on shots from the edge of the box. You very rarely seen him trying to link play up as well. I was really disappointed in him. Do you know what I mean? After watching him get that hat trick, and yes, he kind of posted missing against Alkmaar, but you're expecting him to come back on the form. What was your opinion of his performance yesterday?
Yeah, it was one of the games where you wanted David Turnbull to show his worth, and I feel he failed to do that. And you could see it in his face. The camera spanned to him. I don't know how long ago after it was he'd been substituted, and you could see it in his face. I think he knew himself that he let the game get pass him by. I feel like I mean, he had wee moments and stuff where he was getting on the ball, but it was almost, I think he was getting frustrated in his cell that he wasn't managing to have an impact in the game, and I felt like he was maybe forcing things, and he was playing passes and trying things and normally he wouldn't do. It was almost like he was trying to, instead of maybe just going to the basics, playing a nice wee 5-yard pass inside, or just to try and build a wee bit of confidence. It just felt like the game had got that far. It just wasn't involved in anything good in the game, and I just felt it got frustrated, and that's it. Then try to force everything and get himself into the game without actually maybe just keeping it basic, build from there, instead of just, it seemed as if everything was forced and trying the difficult thing all the time. Like, he wasn't shooting maybe when he had chances to shoot. So yeah, I was really disappointed with him, Abada and Eddie. But like I say, I don't want to be too critical on Abada because he is 19-year-old, and a lot of the time when he got the ball, he was on the half turn, and I think they doubled up on him pretty well, Rangers. But yeah, Turnbull, I think he'll be really one of the ones that are really disappointed with his performance, because he knows he could have done better. He knows he could have had a big impact in that game, and it's not happened for him.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony, it's not obviously single anybody out. It's just obviously what we're seeing on the pitch. And Turnbull, as Francis rightly said there, he was forcing the issue too much. It was almost like he knew he was playing bad, and he tried all these, do you know what I mean, World Cup passes, and it wasn't working out, and his wee flicks and his wee skills weren't working out, and his confidence for me was totally shot, especially towards when he got took off. And what was your opinion, or was anybody else even that kind of overtook his performance for yourself in terms of the bad side of things?
No, well, I totally agree with you regarding Turnbull. I think it was, you could see the frustration building in him even from the first half, to be honest. And I think it's because we all know what he's capable of. You know, I was waxing lyrical about him this time last week after his hat trick, and we know how good he is. He maybe just needs to work a little bit, perhaps not in a mental toughness, because anyone that's come back from the type of injury he had, well, I don't think we can sort of accuse him of not being mentally strong for these games. I just think he was perhaps a little bit out-muscled off the ball at times, and he didn't get to. The Rangers players were able to put their authority on him rather than the other way about. But he's got all the ability in the world, but it just, like you say, it's just been one of those days where it's not went right for him. But I will say, almost similar to Thursday night, there have been players in the past at Celtic that have had a bad game and then were posted missing for the rest of the game. You could very easily point that finger at Odsonne Edouard yesterday, and for many games against Rangers last year. I mean, you could argue he's been a passenger in this fixture for a season and a half now. But Turnbull, for all that it maybe wasn't going for him yesterday, was always looking to get on the ball, was always trying to create something. So you have to give him credit for that. The other players we mentioned there, Abada, you guys are absolutely spot on. I think he looked very much a 19-year-old winger being thrown into his first derby. Sometimes you get all the headlines for all the right reasons, but it was just one of those days. Nothing was going for him. He wasn't getting the break of the ball. His final ball, which we've lauded him for, I can't even really remember him making a cross or one or two that were just too heavy. That was perhaps one of Tony Ralston's biggest letdowns yesterday. He did get into a few really good positions for crossing the ball, and his final ball just was left wanting. So it's all those little things that can culminate in a derby defeat, which is really unfortunate. But I've absolutely no doubt with Turnbull, especially, that they'll bounce back, and we just need to kind of take this one on the chin and move on. I'd put it this way: yesterday was our 7th game where we've in a row, unfortunately, where we've failed to beat Rangers. But I would bet a hell of a lot of money on the fact that will not extend to 8 the next time we play them.
Well, keep your money in your pocket for now. No, we're joking. Obviously, before we move on here to the other subjects and things, I just want to touch upon the Kyogo and Edouard thing, just briefly anyway. And I'll come to yourself, Francis, first. And Postecoglou said after the match, obviously looking back, he should have started Kyogo for the middle. Now, I've seen people on Twitter, on social media saying this is the first time where Postecoglou has to take some of the heat for this. And I'm tending to agree, because I don't understand why he thought Edouard would make the impact, because Anthony, he nailed it perfectly. They're saying he's been a passenger in these games for nearly a year and a half. He has no form. And Kyogo for the middle has destroyed teams, especially domestically, and scoring in the European front as well. Do you think, looking back, that was one of the major issues with the lineup in terms of the impact that Celtic could have had going forward? Starting Edouard, even keeping him on the bench and bringing him on, that would have been the better option in the second half, like they did against Alkmaar?
Yeah, I think with the benefit of hindsight, yeah, it is. But I think Thursday was one of the reasons he started Edouard up front, because I know Kyogo scored the goal, but then we struggled to really hold the ball up the park. Like, we could never really get out on Thursday. So I think that was why I tried to put Edouard up there as a focal point, because by all accounts, when Edouard came on Thursday night, he actually held the ball up, got us up the park and stuff. So I think that was his thought process. And so I kind of understood, again, the benefit of hindsight, he maybe tactically did get it wrong, but like I touched on, it was Edouard sticks that chance away and Kyogo scores one of their chances. His tactics look brilliant. So it's big moments can make you question the tactics. But yeah, I think he's got to take some of it as well, maybe more so for me, that maybe making the changes sooner, or try to change personnel round about even without making a substitution, maybe move guys a couple of positions and stuff maybe sooner. So I would say maybe you could maybe have a go on more for that than actual the team selection and stuff. But fair play to the guy. He just came out and admitted that he maybe got it wrong. Yeah. So he's tending to hit. I know a lot of managers will do that in defeat to tend to take the pressure away from the players, but they sometimes don't necessarily call out tactical decisions or team selection. So for me, probably would have went Kyogo through the middle, but I understood after Thursday night why. I think Thursday night was a big factor, but Sunday showed me that there's life after Edouard. I think normal Celtic fans that are level-headed will look back on Edouard and as a positive. He's been a great signing for us. You can't question that. But I think once his heart's not been in it, there's no need for him to be around the place anymore. I like, it sounds daft saying, but I hope we get a deal over the line for him, because I just think it's got to be better for everybody if we can get Edouard out of the club, if you like, without sounding like I'm trying to hound him out of the club. I just think if we can secure a transfer for him, what's left of the window, I think that'll be beneficial for all parties, really.
Well, obviously, if rumours led to believe, Crystal Palace are linked with him. It seems to be a nearly done deal. I think it's the last couple of days of the window anyway, so that may cross the line soon. But Anthony, coming to yourself, did the Kyogo situation, does that show you going forward, even if Edouard stays, that he's going to be a number one striker?
Yeah, I think he will be. Yeah, and like as Francis says, I'd be very, very surprised if. I mean, this will be going out on Tuesday. This show, I'll be very surprised if by Tuesday night that Odsonne Edouard's still a Celtic player. This rumour with Crystal Palace really seems to be accelerating now. So I would imagine that he'll go. And also, like Francis, I think we have to pay tribute to him. He's a big game player, or has been for the majority of his time at Celtic. He came in for initially on loan from PSG, and he had the talismanic Moussa Dembele and a free scoring Lee Griffiths to try and sort of split up to get into that team. Scott Sinclair as well, and he did. And obviously, as we touched on earlier, but he'll be remembered in that loan season for that magnificent goal to win the match at Ibrox. And then we paid out a record fee for him, and I think he's more than repaid that with his goals and performances in Europe and the big domestic games, cup finals, derbies for that initial period, and big domestic fixtures. You think of Neil Lennon's return at Tynecastle when he scored late as well. But those are the moments I'll remember him for, and obviously scoring the goal that secured the treble that day. What a day that was as well. And yet bizarrely there was still people within the fourth estate and their mainstream media around that time that were still trying to compare Alfredo Morelos to him. Alfredo Morelos is not fit to wear Odsonne Edouard's shin guards, let alone anything else. So, like I say, I think as Francis says, the time's come for him to move on, and I wish him well. But yeah, definitely going forward, the man from Japan will be leading our attack. I've no doubt about that.
And as you said, there are sometimes all the good things come to an end, isn't it? And everyone in this
Absolutely.
podcast obviously wishes Edouard all the best. If he leaves, and I have to say if, because nothing's confirmed. If he leaves, he leaves with all their best wishes and all their memories. After he said there, bring back some of the happiest moments I've had supporting Celtic. So kudos to the man. But we'll move on to the next topic, and that's obviously we've qualified for Europa League group stage. It will be us, Bayer Leverkusen, Real Betis, and the Ferencváros, old foes, yes. But coming to yourself, Francis, here, for me, that's a tasty group. Bayer Leverkusen, the return of Frimpong, he'll be playing Celtic again. And knowing our luck, he'll probably destroy us now. And then you've got Real Betis as well. They play in the hoops, but horizontally. They're a Spanish club with a lot of history. And again, as I pointed out, the old foes of Ferencváros. How are you feeling about this group?
Well, I said to the apprentice when the group came out, it could have been. It's a good group. It could have been a better group, but it could have been a lot worse. The group. I think it's one of the more favourable groups we've had in recent years. So yeah, I'm happy, and I'm happy with the teams and stuff we've got. It's like you say, Ferencváros. It's a chance to maybe right or wrong, if you like. So we've got a good chance to maybe show them what we're all about. Betis, incidentally, I'm actually wearing a Real Betis top now as we do this. I actually have it. And but it's. I think that'll be a good tie, because when we actually went over to Seville, where Betis actually play their home games, we all got on well with the Real Betis fans. I think a lot of that was just down to the green and white and stuff. So we kind of got a good rapport. I certainly remember what was one of my overriding memories of Seville. It was just all the Real Betis fans, like the young kids in that were asking for your chairs and scarf just simply because it was green and white. So I think that'll be good to go back over there and just see for the fans what managed to get over for that. Hopefully all barring restrictions maybe changing adversely to stop that. But I think that'll be a nice glamorous fixture, if you like, in that sense. And then Leverkusen, it's a German team. They'll probably be well organised and probably a good steady team. But again, it's like Ferencváros, that's Hungary, isn't it? With their face, Hungary, their face. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about it, but I mean, Seville's a really, really nice city. And then, not that I've been in Germany before, but I've heard that Germany away days are always good. So it's good away days for the fans, to be fair.
And that was the take on the group from our Spanish football correspondent, Francis. But see to be fair, I mean, the games I'm looking forward to most, Anthony, may surprise you. You touched upon it, Francis, there. The Real Betis games. There's just something about it that's drawn me to them fixtures, home and away, that I'm looking forward to seeing us play them. But in terms of the group, Anthony, Bayer Leverkusen, solid German team, and they just sold Kai Havertz for like 90 million euros to Chelsea. I know that was last season, but it's still quite recent. They've got Frimpong in their ranks. We all know him well as Celtic fans. Fernandes Faros, are they going to come back to haunt us again? Who knows? What's your take on the group? Is it a group that excites you?
It does, yeah. I must admit, I was delighted when we drew Real Betis, obviously with a historical connection with the club. I've got a Spanish friend at work who's a big Real Betis fan, and obviously his Scottish team, he would always say Celtic because of the connection. Before we changed to the hoops in 1903, we obviously used to play in the green and white vertical stripes, which Betis play in, and I think there is some sort of connection there was a Spanish fisherman who had got stranded in Glasgow due to bad weather, and he went along to watch Celtic play at the time when they were wearing the vertical green and white stripes, and on his return to the south of Spain, he was instrumental in the formation of the club. So there is that historical connection there. And we've obviously, for the minute that Betis, when the group was made, Real Betis were the first to tweet that how delighted they were that this match was finally happening. So yeah, I think it will be absolutely fantastic. And as Francis says, obviously those good relations will have been renewed. A little while ago now, but of course we all have the good memories of our magnificent fans' performance in Seville when we won the UEFA award. It's exactly how people should support their football club away from home. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Like you say, the Germans, Bayer Leverkusen, they're not Bayern Munich or Dortmund, but they are a very well-established German outfit. They'll be a right tough test. I'm not, unless Jeremy Frimpong's learned how to cross a ball in the last 6 months, I'm not too bothered about him, to be perfectly honest. All the talent and pace in the world, but his head just seemed to be not fully focused on his football, shall we say. And that tweet that he sent out when he left, I've never seen a more arrogant, lack of humility, self-absorbed tweet in my life, when he said that he wanted to stay but his demands haven't been met. And you first find yourself sitting there thinking, listen son, when you're finished puberty and you can learn to find a man with your final ball, then you can start making demands to Celtic Football Club. Until then you can just get on with your job. So yeah, I obviously won't boo him or anything like that, but I'm certainly not I'm not excited to see him either. Fernandes Faros is very much the most winnable fixtures, I think. We lost the match last year at home, the one-off qualifier, but we're a different animal this season, and I've especially at home, I've got no doubt that we'll pick up the 3 points against them. But yeah, it's a bit of a fresh group. When you've seen some of the other names in the group, you think, you don't want to draw them again. You don't want to get the same teams over and over again. I remember when we were in the Champions League, we
got Barcelona.
That period of time, we always seemed to get either Barcelona, AC Milan, Shakhtar Donetsk. It got a bit repetitive. So and like you say, the German days out. Like I say, I've not been on one myself, Francis, but you always the reports you get back from the fans is always that Germany's the place to be, and of course we'll have a fantastic welcome in Seville as well for the Betis match. Likewise, both those sets of supporters will obviously be welcome at our home as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting started. I think it'll be a cracking group, and I'm just also very glad that we avoided an English team, because I can't, although our record's very good against the supposed superior opposition of down south, I just can't be bothered with all this the Battle of Britain circus that comes along with it. So I was glad to avoid a couple of the big hitters in Pot A, the real big hitters, and I was glad to avoid an English team. So very pleased.
As well, see that Real Betis Stadium, it's an absolute cracker. The pictures of it look
it's
amazing.
Fantastic.
It's unbelievable. But obviously, before the group happens, end of the transfer window's coming, there'll be coming and goings, and it looks like at the moment, Anthony, that Christie is linked with Bournemouth. They seem to be the front runners. I mean, Bournemouth are still in the Championship, aren't they? I haven't really been keeping up. I think they are. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is he going to get his Premier League move? Who knows? And then Edouard's been linked with a move to Crystal Palace. Celtic have been linked with Felipe Jota from Benfica. By the way, I know YouTube again, clips and stuff, but this kid looks scary good.
I watched them test.
He looks frightening. And then Georgios Giamakis, the top goal scorer in the Dutch league, and then a young Irish striker called Johnny Kenny. A lot of people were frightened that it was John Joe Kenny again, but coming to yourself, Anthony, in terms of, we were speaking about this before we come on air, in terms of the outgoings and incomings. What are you expecting? Do you think the Giamakis deal looks done? The Jota deal looks done? The Kenny one committed no word today, but are you expecting maybe one or two more if Edouard and Christie leave?
Possibly, yes. Especially as well if rumours are to be believed that Lee Griffiths will be going to Dundee as well. I think we could maybe do with another, perhaps another option up front as well. Whether or not another centre half, again the rumours fly about loan deals and this, that, and the other. Whether or not we get all of that done in the one window remains to be seen. But yeah, I would definitely expect the Greek striker and Jota from Benfica to be done minimum. As for, like you say, it's looking very much like Odsonne Edouard will be at Selhurst Park, which I think is, given his contract and perhaps his loss of that sort of really prolific form that he had pre-lockdown, Crystal Palace is perhaps as high as he was going to get in the English Premier League. Celtic have put an offer down on Ryan Christie's desk for long and weary now, and it's not been signed. And, if he feels that the English First Division is a better option than potentially getting the league title back at Celtic and playing in the Champions League next year, then there's really no much more that can be said about that, really. That's, all the best, Ryan, but I hope he packs a parachute, because it can be a hell of a drop from Celtic Park.
I like that one. That's a really good one, by the way. But coming to yourself, Francis, obviously, it's kind of baffling me here. The Georgios Giamakis deal, I think I'm saying that right, by the way. It seems too good to be true. Now, this guy finished top goal scorer in the Dutch league, but there's no other clubs after him apart from us. Is there like a catch going on here? Or are we getting? I just don't know what we're getting. Obviously unknown, but the likes of Jota. I mean, I watched the YouTube of him, and I know YouTube's one of them ones. I can make clips about myself playing five-a-side and look good, but this guy looks lightning fast. He looks like he can dribble and take players on in tight areas. He's a bit like Paddy Roberts, but with pace. Do you know what I mean? Don't want to get people too excited with the whole Paddy Roberts train, but what's your opinion? Obviously, Anthony's right there in terms of the defender situation. I still believe we need a defender, but will we get this done in the next 2 days, do you think?
I think, what's left of the window, obviously we're Monday now as we record. I think it's going to be hard to get deals done. It might have to be loan deals. I think they might be easier to get concluded with the time left to, obviously with medicals and stuff and the whole negotiating and stuff. So I think if any, apart from the Greek boy and Jota come in, I know Jota's a loan deal, but it's with the option to buy. I just hope that option to buy, we've got a set fee, because
I think it's 6 million.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's set at 6 and agreed that if we impresses and we're happy to go forward, it is 6 million, because the last thing we need is the guy, obviously we want him to be a success, but for them to then put a 12 million or 10 million fee on his head. So I hope we've kind of agreed the price, and like you say, it does look a real player, and it's obviously solving an issue. It's giving us more natural width on the left, so it's addressing that situation. But also, we've not really got anybody to deputise for him if and when he can't play. But I'll take it now that you're also getting a more natural left-sided player, and then obviously the Greek boy. I'm on the fence with him. Again, the YouTube clips. He looks, his goals last season, he scored all types of goals, and I think he obviously gives us that focal point up front. He looks like he can win a header, which we've not had for absolutely. Well, Dembele was probably the last one that would really attack it. I know it's not really Kyogo's game. He will jump for him, but he's rarely going to win headers against most centre halves. So I'm more on the fence with him simply because, like you say, he scored 26 goals last season in the Dutch League and nobody's touched him. Nobody's wanting to touch him. But then you could put that down to the fact that he scored half his career goals in one season.
Well, yeah, true.
Has this been a one-season wonder? But I think he'll get more chances at Celtic, so we'll find out if it's a one-season wonder, because I think we'll obviously create a lot of chances for him, so you'll find out if he's a one-season wonder. And yeah, I've heard about that, the Johnny Kenny boy. I was hoping with your Irish connections you would know more about him, but I just know he's an 18-year-old striker. That's all I know about him. I think it's Sligo. Is it Sligo?
He plays for Sligo Rovers, yeah.
And I've heard there's weird rumours going about Twitter that John's favourite one, rumours on Twitter and things like that Ali McCann for St Johnstone's maybe got to come in. So that would be a nice wee one to come in if he comes in. Yeah, like say Christie, if you like, I know he's had that offer there, but if you're going to swap Celtic for Bournemouth, then no bother. That's all I say. That like Bournemouth can't even fill a 10,000 seater stadium. It's got to be an absolute culture shock. That's just madness. And like I say, Edward, he's brought us all these great memories, but it just feels right that he needs to go. And yeah, the Crystal Palace one, it's just unfortunate we never really got this bidding war, or it doesn't seem like we've got this wee bidding war that seemed to be breaking out, but you just don't know how much truth was in the Rubin Kazan, Everton and Marseille ones. Crystal Palace seem the only one really coming forward now, and I kind of get that it could maybe work from playing under Patrick Vieira. It's a guy who'll maybe not necessarily know well, but that because he's French and he was a big player for France, Patrick Vieira might be able to get a tune out with Edward. It'll be somebody he respects and stuff. So yeah, just if we can get some deals done like a centre half, it'd be great. But I think if out with Jota and Giamakis, I'd be surprised if we got any more in just simply because of time.
Yeah. Do you know who just popped into my head, lads? Remember Magic Saraski and his gold boots?
Oh, aye.
What a player. What a player. I'd take him back in a heartbeat.
Let's just go for Larson when we're at it then.
Larson too. I bring them all back, sir. Bring them out of retirement.
Get a band back together.
The one thing that does concern me, obviously, is just the lack of height in the team now and the lack of physicality. And obviously, I don't want to be talking forever about it, but I mean, it is a concern. And hopefully, in the next couple of days, we'll see maybe a centre back coming in with a wee bit of know-how, a wee bit more experience, just to shore up the defence. And obviously, we've got the right back. I don't think we'll be getting the left back in. Felipe Jota really excites me from what I've seen on YouTube. Giamakis, it could be the next big thing in Scotland. Who knows? Or he could be an Amido Balde and on loan to some Tunisian club in a couple of years. But it's one thing we'll have to find out. But guys, in terms of the podcast, that's us all finished. Have you enjoyed this one?
Yeah, as much as can do, Stephen. It's never great coming on after a derby defeat, but I think we dissected the match pretty well, and just looking forward to the end of the window. Obviously, best wishes to the national team for the next week and a half. We've got some big games coming up. Hopefully, we can put some points on the board. That's going to be difficult, but and we'll resume pretty soon talking about Celtic. We'll have some new signings in, and we go again.
What about yourself, Francis?
Yeah, just same as Anthony. It's never the best coming on after a derby defeat, but yeah, I think because of the way we performed and stuff and what we've seen leading up to the game, it's slightly more optimistic, and we've been able to handle that a wee bit better and got things to look forward with. Obviously, the new signings, what look like they're all but done deal, and yeah, just good luck to Scotland in the next qualifiers, because I don't want it being another 20 odd years before we qualify for another European event. I love the Euros, man. The girl even let me just go to the pub every night. It was brilliant. I loved
it. I mean, obviously, as you guys said, there's not nice coming on after a derby defeat, but I think we had a wee laugh there towards the end, and it was good. Obviously, getting into everything and talking about new signings and optimism going forward. And Anthony, quite right, bringing up the international football. Good luck to Scotland on Thursday show. When we recorded it goes out Friday. We're going to have a wee chat about Scotland's upcoming fixtures, so that's something to look forward to. And again, to people who are listening, I promise we are going to go video soon, okay? And it seems like we're literally paying a subscription fee for the video thing. We haven't even used it yet, so we need to get use out of it. And again, on the social media side of things, it's going to be used mainly going forward just to promote podcasts and obviously say when we're going live and things. Doing the news every other day is a bit time consuming and stuff because we all have jobs to go to and things. But we will be going live, we'll be going video, and that's something to look forward to, guys. And to everyone who's listening, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.